Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Lefebvre and it's officially fall, which is my favorite time of year. So today I wanted to paint a really nice fall landscape. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, it is the end of September and fall is here, and I have been wanting to paint a really nice fall landscape with some misty mountains in the background. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I have taped off a border with my painter's tape from the dollar store. I'm painting in my Lab cold press watercolor sketchbook. This is my designated landscape book that maybe we'll take a peek of at the end. I have my Shinhan watercolors, and then I have my 3/4 inch flat brush and my size 8 round water and paper towel, and we're ready to start. Okay, so I want to keep this more on the looser side, and I just want to use a lot of warmer fall kind of colors. So typically in the fall, the skies are pretty gray. So I have some burnt sienna here already. I'm going to grab a little bit of indigo, and mixing those together makes like a blackish gray. And then I'm just going to rinse my brush off, and I'm just going to apply a really light wash in the background. Now, it doesn't look like I'm applying much at all, but really when you take off that painter's tape, it does have a nice slight tint to it where there's like a little bit of a border. Okay, so I'm just trying to get a flat wash, and I'm going to bring it down like so. And then I'm trying to think if I want to do like out of focus mountains to start or not. I might actually. I'm going to grab just a little bit more of indigo, not too dark, and I'm just going to do like an out of focus mountain in the background. So because the background is wet, it should be really blurry. Okay, like that. You can even use your bigger brush for this. I don't know why I'm using my other brush. Okay, like that, just out of focus. And I'm just gonna blend that down. Okay, and what I want to do a lot in this painting is blending these mountain downs to almost clean water, because this is going to give you a really nice misty look, which I'm going to show you once we do kind of our different sets or layers of mountains. Okay, so this one is just like way in the distance. You can barely see it. Okay, it's just a hint. All right, now we're going to have to let it dry. We're going to be doing a lot of wet on dry layering techniques. So if you have something like a heat tool, that comes in really handy for this, just so you can dry it really quickly. If you don't, you're just gonna have to take lots of breaks, walk away, let it completely dry before we move on, okay? Okay, now that it's dry, I'm realizing you can't really see that mountain that was done wet on wet. So I'm gonna go and do another one again, kind of following the same pattern with a little bit more indigo than burnt sienna. And I'm going to use a bunch of water just so it's really light. That doesn't even look as light as I wanted it, but that's fine. We can lighten it up. And I'm just going to, I'm actually going to use this just so I can lighten it up. I'm going to blend it down. I just want it like a really light wash. Okay, we did a monochrome painting of misty kind of mountains in our 31-day challenge. So this is exactly what we're doing for the beginning of this painting. And what you want to do, like I said earlier, you want to blend it down until it's like clean water, till there's like nothing there. Okay, and this is going to create some of that mistiness. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Kind of wish I went a little bit lighter, but I'm just trying to kind of lift some of that color. Like so. Okay, and we're gonna let that dry. Okay, now we're gonna do another layer of mountains. This one I want a little bit more on the warmer side, so I'm gonna add more of my burnt sienna. And I want there to be more of a gradient of dark to light. I want it to be darker at the peaks of the mountains and then really fade out to like a light wash of clean water, basically. So I'm going to start with applying my mountain. I'm going to quickly add water to it so we don't get a harsh line there. And then I'm just going to add more water to my brush and blend it down. Okay, I might go back in to the top, darken it a little bit, move it down a bit, but then again, wash off my brush, dry it a bit, and blend that color down. I really want it to fade to nothingness. Okay, again, might go back in with a little bit more brown. You can even add like little peaks of trees on the mountain if you'd like. It's totally up to you. Just like kind of little vertical lines, very loose. And just kind of all clustered together. And then maybe some like horizontal dabs for some trees, but we don't need to focus on the trees just yet. We are going to be doing more in a bit. I'm just going to tap a little bit more color there, just so it doesn't look so flat. And then I'm just going to try and blend it down just a little bit. So I washed and dried off my brush, and I'm just blending it down. Okay. Again, until it's like clean water. Might grab a little bit more color. We can always do a bit more detail on it after as well. Okay, and then we're gonna let that layer dry. Okay, now I'm gonna do one more set of mountains. Again, I want them more on the warmer side, so I'm gonna add more of my burnt sienna, and I'm gonna have it kind of coming down from the corner like this, and then kind of coming up this way maybe. Wash off my brush and blend it out. Just keep adding water. And then I always tap it on my paper towel, so I'm not going in with so much water. Add a little bit more here. Like that. And then just clean water, blending it down like so. You see that? Now I'm going to go back in with just a little bit more color just to get a bit more texture. So I might grab a little bit more burnt sienna, a little bit more indigo, maybe just tap some color in here just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, you can kind of bring it down if you'd like. You do want it more jagged than anything, like you don't want it to be a nice smooth line. Okay, I'm just kind of using the tip of my brush and just tapping to get these almost like they're trees. I'm gonna get more burnt sienna. I love burnt sienna because it's like this really orangey brown. It's perfect for fall. But I also just love it for mixing some neutral colors. Okay. And I'm just gonna blend it down. Now, while this is still wet here, what I'm gonna do is I want to do some out of focus kind of trees over here, some wet on wet trees. So I'm gonna grab some burnt sienna, bring it over here. I'm gonna grab some yellow to make it more orangey, and I'm gonna do a bunch of trees right at the bottom here. Might grab some darker browns too. Like this. I might kind of trying to think if I want to do a river or something or not. I think I do. Haven't planned that far ahead yet, and that's okay. Sometimes the best paintings I have done are ones that don't have a plan, and some of the worst paintings I've done don't have a plan, but that's okay. And I'm actually just going to blend the bottom of this out until I decide what I want to do. So my clean, wet brush, and I'm just blending it down. I always, when I wash or get more water on my brush, I tap it on my paper towel just so I'm not going back into that area with lots of water. Now I kind of wish I left a little bit more white space here. I wonder if I feel like I want to lift up some of this area so it looks a little bit more misty. So I just washed and dried off my brush. And I'm just using a lot of pressure to lift some color from this mountain. There. Now I'm going to try and go back in with that orangey color again. Just get a little bit of the tree tops there because I do want it to be light at the top of the trees so you get that separation from the mountains. Like that. Maybe a little bit of brown. I feel like that's a little too white, but that's okay. Here, just add a little bit back in. Okay. Like that. Then I have to figure out what I'm going to do down here. I feel like I want to do some sort of like river or something, some body of water. So I might just grab a little bit of indigo mixed with my brown, and I'm just going to do like an outline. You could always do this with a pencil, which would probably be a better idea. But I just kind of make this S shape, and it comes to the corner over here, and then another S shape here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet up the outer part of the S shape with some water. And one of my hairs, apparently. Hold on. There we go. Now, if I add too much water here, I'm going to get a pushback into this orange because the water I'm laying down right now is a lot wetter than these trees. They're started to dry. So I'm going to dry off my brush a little bit and just kind of blend it. I'm actually going to use my brush and just kind of do these vertical lines. Maybe just blend some of this down a bit. I don't know. We're playing today, guys. We're playing. Okay, I want to grab... No, I don't like that. I'm going to add that color back in. Maybe a little bit more burnt sienna than the yellow. I do have a plan to make darker trees at some point. I do want to figure out this part. So the outside of the river is going to be kind of like an olive green-ish, orangey yellow. It has like a hint of green to it because it's like the grass is starting to turn. So I used a little bit of olive green and then mixed it with that yellow and burnt sienna color. Now this bled right into here. I'm going to lift that up. See, if you ever make mistakes, you just use your brush, a damp, clean brush, as an eraser, basically. There we go. And you just lift what you can. Okay, so we have this olive green and some yellow and some burnt sienna, just all the fall colors together. And I'm just gonna tap it all in here. Maybe some yellow ochre, like it's some rocks or a field. I just love how warm this looks. Okay, now I don't want this river area so, what's it called? Like structured. I don't want that to be such a detailed line. So I'm just using my clean, damp brush to kind of blend out those lines. I might add a little bit of gray. So it's like mimicking the sky a bit, the water in there. Actually, let's use our size 8 brush. like this. So when you're doing the color of the water, you're not necessarily making blue water, right? You're mimicking whatever color the sky is. So right now the sky is more on the gray side. So I'm adding gray into the water here. I'm adding a little bit more of the blue, like the indigo, because I do want it to have a hint of blue, but I'm not going like full indigo. That's why I neutralize it with the burnt sienna. And add a little bit more darkness around the corners. And then kind of back here. And I'm just going to do just a couple of ripples going kind of horizontally across, like so. And it's still wet, so it's getting to be like this blurry kind of rocky, not rocky, but like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Wavy, but not wavy. Ripply. I'm really good at words today. Okay. Now if I keep going too much right here, it's going to be a lot more dry on the paper than the color that I'm adding. So I want to let this dry first and then start doing some layers. Okay. Okay. So now there's a couple things I want to do. I want to add a little bit more texture to the mountains. So I'm going to grab just like a really light wash of the gray and just kind of break up the bristles on my brush. And I'm just using a little bit of dry brush on these mountains back there. I'm gonna add a little bit more burnt sienna so it's a little bit more brown. Dab it on my paper towel. Just add a little bit of texture there. Just a little bit. I don't want to go all the way down and add texture, just a faint little bit of texture, just so it's not so flat. Same thing over here, maybe. And then I think I want to try something. I'm going to grab some burnt sienna. I'm going to do a tree in the background. I want to kind of like carve out, like do some negative painting. I'm going to go around this like there's lighter colored trees here, and then I'm going to make some darker trees in the background. I don't know if that's going to look good, but I'm going to try it. So I'm negative painting here. Okay, so I'm kind of doing these like outlines of these fluffy trees here, and then I'm painting trees behind it with a darker color, so it looks like the lighter colored trees are in the foreground. Does that make sense? You can even just kind of blend it. Do you see that? How they're popping out a little bit? You might want to get a smaller brush to do these trees. And to do these trees in the background here, I'm just doing the vertical line and then just kind of tapping back and forth to get these like rigid branches. Then maybe I'll just do some more dense ones right here, just with the tip of my brush. And then I'm just gonna kind of fill in down here, like in between. I'm gonna have to do a trunk of some sort, right? For those. And I don't want them to be like symmetrical or like this tree line. I want there to be different heights of these trees in the back. Not symmetrical, but I don't want it to be necessarily uniform. That's the word I'm trying to look for. Okay, I'm going to grab this color again, and I'm going to define this land line here. It's a little bit more olive green, like that. And I'm just gonna kind of blend it down. And it's getting a little bit more like dry brush as I'm coming down here. I'm running out of paint, which I like. I don't know how I like those trees, but that's fine. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow dots on them. And then I'll add some trunks and branches and all them after. Here, I think I just want to do some regular kind of trees. I'm going to make an orange. And I'm just going to tap like this. Let me grab some yellow. Mix a little bit of yellow in there. Kind of don't like these outlines that I did. Still gonna see if I can try and fix it. Maybe a little bit of orange tap in there. Get a little bit more like brown to get some darker shadows in here. Or just like more shaded areas. And again, this is not like a realistic painting. Obviously, you can tell that. But we're just kind of having fun here and playing around and trying different things. I'm gonna make this a little bit darker. We need a land piece that's over this way too. Do our dry brush over here. Just gonna sharpen this up a little bit. Maybe a little bit darker towards the river. And I'm really using more just like paint than water on my brush to get these dry textures. Okay, you don't see me dipping my paintbrush in the water. I'm just dipping it in the paint that's not very wet, as is on my palette. You might need to get it a little wet if it's too dry. Get a little bit of green. Might make some like little bits of grass over here. Again, it's like a dry brush grass texture. I've just kind of broken up my bristles. Dry brush grass over here too. It's a little too dry. A little bit like that. Just trying to get more texture in the field here. Different colors and stuff. Okay, then I am going to grab some indigo, mix it with my burnt sienna. Oops, that's a little too much. It's a little too dark. And I'm gonna grab like a liner brush so I can get really fine lines. Because I want to do some tree trunks. And a little bit of like branches and stuff back here. Like this, and I'm just being really loose with it. And you're just doing a bunch of like Y shapes. like that. And then maybe just a little bit of this darkness towards the base of these trees. Just so it looks like there's a bit of shadow there. Just gonna blend this out a bit. Okay. Then I think I just want to add a little bit of darkness to some of these curves over here. Just like that. A little bit of like a light wash of our indigo. Maybe a little bit of dry brush in the water. Like that. And I think that's pretty good. I kind of want to finish it off with like a bird in the sky. I'm just going to grab this dark color, my liner, and just do like a little birds like that. And there is our cozy fall landscape. So let's take off the tape. See how you can see that border at the top, even though it was like super light. And there we go. I'm loving painting mountains. I feel like I could have gone a little, like I went a little too light here, but see how the lightness of the bottom of the mountains creates this almost like it's a mist. I might do one of just like misty mountains because I feel like I could have framed this a lot better. And maybe it needs a little bit more texture or something. Like right down here, I feel like. But it's something to work on and perfect. And maybe we'll do one of just how to create mist. But there we go. So there is our fall landscape. This one was a Patreon live tutorial. If you guys are ever interested in more tutorials that are in depth, kind of the same, you can check out my Patreon, become a patron over there. But I love doing landscapes in here. It's so much fun. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a great day, guys. Bye.